Hello everyone, we are to discuss about that examine. Examine how the jet stream and the upper air and circulations exercise as and the important influence on the weather. And in India, 10 minutes, 10 marks. Directions: you may define the upper air and circulations and jet stream and list down there the impact on the different weather conditions. And in India, you can the structures it as and the composite and the positive impact, negatives and impact, and draw other diagrams and to show its concludes. Introduction: upper air circulations rather to streams of air and that flow at the highest altitude of the atmosphere. They flow at the top of the stratospheres and the generally blow in the westerly and directions, and the jet streams is other geostrophic wind. Geostrophic winds and blowing the horizontally and through the upper layers and of the troposphere generally and from the west to east at and the altitude of 20,000 feet, and jet stream developed there. Jet stream develop and where air masses of the different temperatures meet. Polar Z and subtropical Z. ये पोलर जेड होता है और ये जो बीच में रहता है सब ट्रॉपिकल रहता है, और पोलर जेड के आसपास इधर पोलर सेल रहते हैं और ये फनल सेल रहता है, हार्ड सेल, ये पोलर सेल. Impact of the jet stream and the upper air circulations of India. Positive impact help in the worst of the monsoon. It is dependent. Hare Ram Re. It is depends upon the upper air and the circulations, and which is the denominated and by the northwards and movement of the subtropical jet stream STJ, and causes high and the pressures and low pressures, and jet stream have the district and peaks and ridge and the trough and the regions on cyclonic LP and the anticyclonic conditions and HP respectively, responsible for the western cyclonics and the disturbances, and it enters the Indians and subcontinentals from the west and the northwest and during the winters and month, and originate and over the Mediterranean and sea and is the brought and into India via the westerly jet stream helps steer and the easterly and jet stream it is further steers the tropical depressions and into the India, and thus the depressions and play a significant role in the distributions of monsoon rainfall over the Indians and subcontinental. The track of thus depressions are the areas and with the highest rainfall in India, and the non-lucent and clouds and at the times and jet stream brings and about some and the moisture to the tropospheres, leading to the formation of noctilucent and clouds, and noctilucent clouds are the extremely rain very high and clouds and seen in the night sky, usually on clear summer's nights. They also help in giving relatively and clears the pictures of the occurrences of the events of EI and Nano and the La Nina. Negative impact sometimes seems hinders and the monsoon winds, and if the June-July and the upper jet stream is maintained above the South Himalayas, and this will create anticyclonic conditions in the northwestern India, and thus the hinders the monsoon winds and accelerated and ozone the depletions. Jet streams is now as to the hair bringings ozone depletings and the substances from the upper upper atmospheres and to the earth and atmosphere, and thus the causing depletions of the ozone layer. And conclusion, the jet streams has other wide and ranging an effect on the India's the theories explaining and the predicting the effect are still and involving and more, and the research is needed to the further understanding its the increases. Question number 5. How and why and does the intercities of the summer and winter months and differs in the peninsular India and compared and to the rest of the subcontinental directions? Give and the introductions to the summer and the winters and the month in the November and the northern and the peninsular India, and then list down and various regions and for the difference, and then the briefly and give its the impact agricultures and water with earth and system etc. Concludes and introductions. There are the variation in weathers and conditions during the different seasons and in the different part of India, and the summers and winters and month in the North India's is more and the instance, and while it is and the mind in the peninsular India, and thus the changes occurs due to the changes in the elements of the weather, temperature and pressures and wind, the direction and velocity, humidity and the precipitations etc. Body direction and directed different between the summers and the winter month in the peninsular India compared and to the rest of the subcontinent. Hot summer month in India, the exercise and the hot weather seasons, and from the month of the March to May, and the summer and the north and in the peninsular India are the mild and not as and the instance as in the north and India's, and due to the apparent and the movement of sun towards the north, and during this times the average temperatures of the northern plains is between the 42 to 45 degrees Celsius, while in the south it is the between 35 to 38 degrees Celsius. Cold weather seasons. The peninsular regions of India and however does not have any the well definitions cold weathers and season. There is hardly any the seasonal changes in the distributions patterns of the because of the temperatures in coastal area, and because of the moderatings and influences of the sea and the approximately and to the equators, and usually the cold weather seasons and stands in by the mid and the November in the northern Indias, and December are the oldest month in the northern plains, and the min and daily and the temperatures remains below and 21 degree and over the most parts of the northern India. Reasons and behind this. Reasons behind this different and influences of oceans. Different between the summers and the winters moons and in the peninsular India and compared to the rest and of the subconscious and hot summers months and India's the experience the hot weather seasons, and from the month of March and to May. The summer months in the peninsular India are mild and not as the instances as in the northern India, due to appearances movement and of the sun towards the north, and the during this times and the average temperatures of the northern plains is between the 42 to 45 degrees Celsius, and whilst in the south it is the between 35 to 38 degrees Celsius. Cold weather season. The peninsular regions of India and however does not have any the well and defined and cold weather seasons, and there is the hardly and any the seasonals and changes in the distributions patterns of the temperatures in coast areas, and because of the moderatings and influences of the sea and the proximities in the equators, and usually the cold and weather season sets in by and the mid and November in northern Indias, and Decembers and Januaries are the coldest months and in the northern plain, and the mean daily and temperature means below 21 degrees Celsius over and the most part of the northern India. Reasons behind this difference: influences of oceans and regions closer to the sea and coast have the marine and influences, hence the climates, and has other moderating influences of the sea interior areas and don't have the maritime influences, hence they have an extreme climate. For examples, the areas of the North India which is the far away from the sea level, she has and the extreme types of climates, and while the areas of the South India and which is the nearest to the sea and has and the equivalent types of climate. Influence of altitudes, and due to the altitudes the temperatures in the hills of the Western Ghats and remains the below and 25 degrees Celsius in summer and expect, and for the Kashmir and some the northeastern state and where is the lake of the altitude different in the north as it is the mainly other plain land. Isotherm and in the coastal south, the north and south extent of isotherms. Iso and the therm parallels to the coast and confirm that the temperatures does and not the decreased, and from the north and to the south rather it's the increase, and from the coast and to the interior. Topography: the northern and part of the Indias and lies in the subtropicals and the temperate and zone, and the parts and lying and south of the tropicals of the Cancer tropical zone. The tropical zones being the nearest and to the equators experience high temperatures throughout the year with the small daily and the annual ranges, and the area north of the experience and extreme climates with the high daily and the annual range of temperature. And while the peninsular India is saved and from thus the extreme climates events and impact of thus and differences in agriculture, there is other marked and different between the crops and grow in the South India and the North Indias, and due to less and the extreme weather events and the presence of westerns and the eastern Ghat and peninsular India's produced and coffee and various type of spices, trade and the commerce. The weathers of many and the southern cities are the pleasant and the stable, and which led to the growth of trade and the commerce in the regions, and for the instance the development of Bangalore and as the IT hub of India. Tourism and peninsular India hosted and many the hill stations and like the OT and which attracts tourism from across the country, and thus hill stations and have pleasant and weathers and which provided the solace to pupils, the migrations, and since the many industries and are the locations in peninsular India it and the attracts and migrations of pupils from north and which who go and there in search of better opportunities. Conclusion: change in the climates and due to the global warming has increased the extreme weather events and more and the sensitive and to the changes in the temperature, and it will be the greatly and impacted by any changes. Describe the local storms during the hot weather seasons in India in what and the extended and do they assist the growth of the various crops, and examine direction. Define local storms and briefly give the reasons and for their the formations and list, and down there the names in different Indias and give and their the impact on agricultures and crop systems positively and a negative. Conclude. Introduction: the pre and the monsoon and the seasons in India and the comprising the month of the March and May is now as the hot weathers or the summer season. The temperature particularly is the maximum during this seasons and are very the high in the most parts of the countries, and especially in the central and the northwest India. During this hot and weather seasons and occurs and some local storms in different parts of the country, and such winds and are the local in extreme and are the confined and to the lowest and levels of troposphere body. Reasons behind the local storm of the whole weather seasons in India: the hidden, the sudden and context between the dry and the moist airs. Masses give rise to the local storms of great intensity. Thus, hot local winds and are the produced and the generally and by the mechanism and known as the adiabatic heatings, and thus local storms are the associated with the violent winds and torrential and rain and event hailstorms. Local storm and grow of crops. Mango showers towards the end of the summers, and there are the pre-monsoons and showers, and which are common phenomena in Kerala's and coastal areas of Karnataka. And this monsoon showers is a type of the local wind prevalent mostly in the South India's state and locally, and they are the known as the mango and showers, and since they help in the early and the ripenings of mangoes. Blossoms showers, and with this and the showers and coffee flowers and blossom in Kerala's and nearly the areas or the month of the February and to the April are when the first and the showers of the years and are the receipts for the coffee farmers, and thus and first the showers are indeed and referred to as the blooms and showers. Nor and the westerns, it is the strong and northwestern wind, and thus are the dreaded and evenings and thunderstorms in westerns in Bengal and the Assam, and there the notorious and natures can be the understand and from the local nomenclatures of the Kal Vaisakhi is the calamities of the month of the Vaishakh, and thus the sword and are used for the tea, jute and the rice and cultivated. It is occurs with increasing the frequency from March until the November till the monsoon is stabilized and over the northeast India in Assam. Thus the storms are known as the Bardoli and the Chirha. This creation as These creations are the west low and the pressure areas and over the north and the Indian plains during the afternoon hot dry and the oppressing wind and blowing in the northern plain from the Punjab to the Bihar, and with higher the intensity between the Delhi and Patna, and it is the separately strong in the month of May and June, and they help in the growth of wheat and maize and andhi. There are the thunderstorms and which raise and wall of the dust and the sand and rendering visibilities practices nil are the local